Hello everybody, my name is UT. I'm a preservation expert in Wormrest Temple, and I will be talking about the 10.2.5 changes to preservation and how it plays going into the new patch. Before we get started, if you have any questions or wish to read more, there are informational guides here on Wowhead and here on Icy Veins. You can also feel free to join the Evoker Discord and ask any questions. All links will be in the description below. So what happened to Evoker going to 10.2.5? As stated here by Volk, these notes differ from the official patch notes, but are correct. So to start, reversion extensions are now capped at 6 additional ticks. Reversion casts now have a 15% chance to proc Essence Burst. Almost all mana costs were increased by 10%, the exceptions of being Temporal Anomaly and Fire Breath. Grace period is increased to 7.5% per point, before it was 5%. Timeless Magic now offers a 10% per point off the mana cost of Temporal Anomaly, Echo, Reversion, and Time Dilation, and Temporal Anomaly was added to the duration increase, but the duration increase was reduced to 10% per point, and it was 15%. And as a little quality of life, we also got Source of Magic now lasts 1 hour, up from 30 minutes. So what does this mean for Reversion? Reversion has now become a good button that will frequently be used in both Echo and Blossoms builds. That being said, Reversion focused builds that stack extremely high values of crit to make Reversions last nearly forever are pretty much dead. It took away a very disliked playstyle by the community and made a bad button good and fun to press. And that's a good change. Before we get into the builds and playstyle, first question most often asked is about our stats. QE Live will be your best resource and has been updated for our 10.2.5 changes. Going into this patch, Mastery will still be king. It's an absurdly overtuned stat that will still be our main focus. Before 10.2.5, crit and versatility were basically equal, with haste lagging very far behind. With us now wanting to maximize our grace period uptime, crit will become slightly more valuable than versatility. However, there will be no crit cap or no crit point we are looking for or stacking. Just know that around 30 to 35% crit is when you start maximizing the extra ticks of Reversion without wasting any ticks beyond the maximum extension. With that in mind, let's get into the builds. For a Blossoms build, you'll play almost the same build with a few key changes. There are a few talent changes, like dropping Life Force Mender and Life Giver's Flame for Exhilarating Burst and Timeless Magic. This will allow you to maximize your Reversion healing, uptime, and save you a ton of mana through Timeless Magic, reducing Temporal Anomaly and Reversion by 20%. As for playstyle, you will continue weaving your Blossoms in offensive living flame casts and outputting consistent throughput onto the group. The only change now is instead of casting Temporal Anomaly and consuming those echoes from Resonating Sphere with defensive living flame, you will now just be consuming those echoes with Reversion. It has a relatively similar chance to give an Essence Burst per Reversion application, shown here. Credit to Volk on this wonderful little graph. With casting Reversion, you are gaining the burst procs you would by casting Living Flame, but now you're also gaining healing from Reversion and value from the long time dead talent point of Grace Period. Overall, you will gain a decent chunk of throughput, around 7% or so, but lose a decent chunk of damage. These changes are very healthy for a Blossoms build. Your rotation will feel a lot smoother, and there'll be way less frustration of your Temporal Anomaly echoes being consumed by Emerald Blossom. However, keep in mind that other spells like Blossoms became more expensive, so casting Blossoms with Essence Burst have become even more important to your mana. Moving away from Blossoms, let's talk about Echo. There are a few key changes with this build as well. We will be picking up 2 of 2 Grace Period and dropping talents such as Font and Flow State. In our tier 2 talents, we have a single free point that can float around based upon your situation. 1 of 2 points in Flow State would be if you need CDR to make up your Stasis, Dreamflight, or Rewind, hit a key timer. Punctuality just helps with the flow of the rotation and give you more golden hour value if you have tanks or DPS to take heavy damage consistently. And then 1 of 2 Exhilarating Bursts will be the easiest option and the highest throughput, as you're gaining 30% crit healing. In our tier 3 talents, there's been a lot of talk about Spark of Insight versus Ouroboros. Now that Reversion is giving us bursts, we have a lot more Essence Bursts. And with us constantly ramping for damage events, we have a lot of stacks of both Spark and Oro. Aura will almost always net more healing when you are properly using Blossoms. Spark will just give you more burst proc. On a fight where there's any stacking, you should be picking up Ouroboros and getting very decent value from it. With that out of the way, let's talk about how we play the Echo build now. With the 10.2.5 changes, our options on what we consume with Echo are very open. Generally, you'll be echoing Verdant Embrace and using Life Bind for bursts of damage, and then Reversion outside of that. How your fights will generally look is spreading reversions through TA or casting Echo Reversion on those with debuffs that you know will last a while, like Tendril debuffs on Hunters. Keep in mind, all these reversions also can proc Essence Burst, which helps build your next ramp. Outside of that, you'll be ramping for specific mechanics, like charges on Council or Laredar, roots on Tendril, or spears on Agira. You will then be consuming those echoes with Verdant Embrace for a large upfront heal. This will also apply Life Bind on all targets hit by the Verdant Embrace. This is where Spirit Bloom comes in. Casting a full rank Spirit Bloom on yourself, followed by a Living Flame on yourself, you will have a significantly larger ramp than if you just consume those echoes with Spirit Bloom. It's got even stronger in 10.2.5 as we'll be taking Grace Period and keeping 2 stacks or a 32% healing increase on ourselves. This is important as Life Bind healing is scaled off the healing we do to ourselves. What about Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath? Spirit Bloom and Dream Breath are still good options to echo, but they just fall behind. It is okay to echo Spirit Bloom if you need one large instance of healing, and it's still okay to echo Dream Breath if all your echo targets already have reversion, or you have heavy rod that lasts about 15 seconds. Examples will be like dots on Mythic Laredar or Supernova on Tendril. At the end of the day, the choice is really up to what you need. How do I choose between Echo and Blossoms? First off, play what you find the most fun. That'll often find you the most success. Both builds are extremely powerful in the right hands. That being said, I would recommend Echo build on every single fight except for a niche but very powerful build of Blossoms on Smolderon. You can read more about that in the tips and tricks page found on Wowhead. Another fight that strongly favors the Blossom's healing profile is Laredar, but Echo builds can work here too. Blossom's advantage includes a raid that is stacked almost the entire encounter and the ability to cleave the adds, whereas an Echo build can ramp every single charge and save healer cities for other mechanics. It's really based upon what your team needs. In conclusion, the 10.2.5 changes were a very welcome change to Preservation. They made the very large pain points of Reversion being a subpar spell, and Grace Period in a Blossoms build both into usable and rewarding versions of their former self. The spec has many options now, and making the right decisions will reward you with large amounts of healing and even raid saving moments. Whether it be spamming Blossoms around on your raid, or making moment-to-moment plays on Echo, the future is very bright for Preservation. Thank you for watching. If you would like to see more videos like this one, or have any questions, please let us know. Comment below or join the Evoker Discord. Again, my name is UT, and until the next one. I'd like to give a special thanks to Volk, Zuju, and Herrick, and all the other people in the Evoker Discord for help making this video.